Live, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomás Garza, and I'm so happy that you're joining me here today, live on Enlightened World Network. And this is a lot of fun for me. I have to tell you, it is a great joy to be able to show up every day. And this is a daily live stream, if you're just catching this, and share my own experiences from this wonderful spiritual text, this wonderful self-study curriculum called A Course in Miracles. And whether you are joining me for the first time or whether you're a long-time course student, welcome. What I'm doing here today is I'm going to launch right into a very fundamental and very important idea in the workbook for students, and that is lesson 76. I'm under no laws but God's, and I'll share a little bit about the way I see that and the way that has played out in my life, and what resonates will resonate with you. And I hope it's everything. I really do. Because what we're talking about are foundational and fundamental spiritual truths. They're an expression of truth, which is, well, it simply is. And all of our designs as human beings, all of our laws, like we'll talk about today, all of our so-called rules and regulations may seem to distort the truth of who we really are, but they actually don't touch it at all because, well, only truth is true. How about that? It says that in several places in the course. So yesterday, I want to point out a bit of a change to the structure on this live stream. On Mondays, what I'll be doing is I'll have a special focus of the day, and I'll talk about a general spiritual principle or a general aspect of life, tie it into universal spiritual practice and A Course in Miracles specifically. So I do want to invite you to check out yesterday's live stream. Let me put that plug in there right now. It's one that I've really enjoyed talking about, and it's yesterday. It's called Mind Training. And the subject for yesterday was the practice of training our minds and why we would do that. Right? Some of those benefits may not be readily apparent to you, but we talked about it. So I would invite you to take a look at that. That was something that I really enjoyed talking about because outside of this, I'm also a meditation instructor, and I've had my own private, personal meditation practice for 35, 36 years. And well, it's not really private, is it? Because everything is shared. And we see that in spirituality. Our experience eventually, if it doesn't right now, eventually our experience is going to show us that everything is indeed shared. You can find these back episodes on the YouTube channel, by the way, in Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel. The title of the show is A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. So catch that yesterday. Why would you want to train your mind? Well, our minds are running amok, aren't they? They're completely undisciplined, and people find it hard to read a page and a half of commentary in the workbook, right? You ever been there, right? Is it difficult to remember to practice? Is it difficult to remember to meditate? Sometimes if you want to go to yoga, sometimes you get lazy, right? Some days we just get lazy. So we train our minds to open up space to make better decisions for a lot of reasons. So that's yesterday. Today, lesson 76. Let's jump right in. I am under no laws but God's. Period. We could actually stop the live stream right there and allow that to sink in. And what the workbook recommends that you do is repeat this idea to yourself as many times as you can and must, and as many times, indeed, as you remember to do so today. Try it. Try it and see how you feel. Does it make you feel differently? You are under no laws but God's. So what does this mean? Yeah, let's delve into this here. We're not bound by the laws of the world. Ultimately, it's a choice that we all make. No, societies have laws, different states, territories, provinces, nations have laws. They have legal codes. They have criminal codes, civil codes governing all sorts of human behavior, all of it based on the idea of punishment. In other words, what A Course in Miracles would call sin or transgressing against somebody. And it's a series, isn't it, of thou shalt nots. Thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. Everything is proscribed. That's what we live with by our own choice. We're not really subject to those laws. We've gotten together and agreed to be subject to them. Really, we choose. Ultimately, we have free will, which means, even though it may not seem like it, we choose to be bound by all of the laws of the world, including legal codes, statutes, laws that are passed by governments worldwide, and laws of the physical body. Those two. Yeah, Newtonian physics, science, everything in a textbook. We have made an agreement to be bound by these. It really is an agreement. And if you're interested in some further commentary from outside A Course in Miracles about that, I would recommend The Four Agreements, in fact. Yeah, by Don Miguel Ruiz. That is a great, wonderful read if you've never read it. It's beautiful. And the agreements are agreements that we've all gotten together and made. So what does that mean? In that book, in The Four Agreements and in A Course in Miracles, it means the same thing. It means because we've agreed on all of this, we can change our minds. We can agree otherwise. In other words, we can agree not to be bound by this. Why? Because we're not really under these laws. Why do I say that? How can I say that? It's not who we really are. Who we really are is absolutely unaffected by any of these laws, including the laws that supposedly govern the physical body. This is just the way it is, absolute truth. Nobody is expecting you to believe it if you don't. It's okay if you don't. I would invite you to question everything. I love it. I love when people are skeptical. I really do. I really do. It's a beautiful thing to question. But while you're at it, question the foundations of everything that you now believe. That is what A Course in Miracles is all about. That is what the boldness, the brashness of today's idea is all about, if you see it as brash. And you may choose to. I'm under no laws but God's. And you think, okay, well, wait a minute. I live in the United States. I'm subject to the laws of the United States. I'm subject to the laws of the physical body, which ages and loses its vigor over time, especially if we don't exercise. Those types of things. We're subject to laws of Newtonian physics, quantum physics even, right? Everything. We have all these laws, but we're looking to those laws for salvation, aren't we? I mean, really. We've talked about this on the live stream, that in the world, one of the things that we do is we look for happiness everywhere but where we really find it, everywhere but where it's waiting for us, which is within. It is not to be found in a hotter, younger physical bod, no matter how much we may like to believe it. Not saying don't exercise. Yeah, exercise. The body's a communication mechanism, and you owe it to the entire world to keep it shipshape and operational as long as you possibly can. You do. Why? To extend love. That's why. That's what it's for. So give it to that purpose. We're not governed by those laws, and they can't bring us lasting, eternal happiness. A new car cannot bring you lasting, happiness. Millions of followers on Instagram cannot bring you lasting, eternal happiness. It's fleeting. Because if you have 1 million, what if it's not enough and you want 2 million? You see how that game begins to work, and it's not something that we always think about. And that's why this live stream exists. This is why A Course in Miracles exists. This is why Advaita Vedanta, non-dual self-inquiry, exists. This is why spiritual practice exists, so that we can begin to orient ourselves differently. We look for salvation, for our happiness, where it is and where it awaits us inside. Now, of course, in the physical world, the body can be harmed, right? I mean, it can be injured. You may have been very ill at one point in your life. Maybe you are currently. Maybe you have been severely injured in your life. I've been severely injured. I've got a couple of really large scars on my hip, which I will not show you, but they're slashes and gashes from a terrible car accident that I had in 2013, where I woke up in the hospital and had to learn to walk and all that stuff. Right. Maybe you've been injured in one way or another. So who are we to say that we're not bound by these laws? Well, ultimately, we're not. The world is governed by our adherence to the ego. In Eastern philosophy, it's called relative truth, where one person's truth appears to be different than another person's truth. Why? Because we have different perceptions in the world. Now, A Course in Miracles is all about right perception. It's about changing our perception so that we can come very, very close to spiritual awakening, as close as we can get before, as the Course describes it, God himself takes the final step and we're united, which is where we've always been. We're under no laws but God's. And what laws are those? Well, love. Laws of love. And the workbook recommends that you just repeat this idea as many times as you can and must. So any spiritual teacher, no matter what they look like, man, woman, whatever language they happen to be speaking, doesn't matter. We're all saying the exact same thing. And if you haven't noticed already, we're all saying it over and over and over and over. Why? Because people need to hear it over and over and over. We're adult learners, folks. We need to hear things multiple times and in multiple different ways, and often from multiple different people. We owe it to everyone to show up and teach, whatever that looks like. Now, you'll notice as you go through the commentary in the workbook and A Course in Miracles in general, that there is a word that has a different meaning, and that is magic. Okay, when we think of magic, we think of maybe a magician or maybe parlor tricks. Maybe it's Magic Johnson. It's something that sort of seems to come from thin air, that defies the laws of gravity, of physics, of space and time, that sort of thing. We have a different definition for it in the world. In A Course in Miracles, magic are things that we take to rely on, like pills, like medicine, like clothing, like food, like water. All of that is something that we have agreed that we need here in the physical world. And as long as we're running around with this communication mechanism that we call a body, then we need that. We need to eat. And we have the good fortune, a lot of us, to be able to take medicine. So take it, right? If you want to, and you have the good fortune to do it. I'm talking medicine in general, and I'm not going to wade into the current debate about COVID-19 vaccinations. You can see where everybody stands on that by reading their social media profile, especially when they're attacking one another. What the Course says about all of that is it's really just another illusion. When we think we need something in this world, all right, we think we need it, and that's relative truth. I mean, we all have agreed that we need this thing called money. So we do certain things that we call work or a career in order to get this thing called money. I mean, yeah, it's an energy exchange, yes. But there are certain ways that we see things in the world that are not ultimate truth. And that truth is that God is. It's the ground of all being, which is completely unaffected by medicine. It's completely unaffected by clothing, by food, by water, by money, by a house, a roof over our heads, electricity, internet, all those things, these wonderful things that we use to relate to each other and to communicate with each other are what the Course simply calls magic. Now, it's not a good versus bad judgment upon the way that we're doing everything. It's a very gentle, loving presentation. This is dictated by Jesus. Yeah. And it is very loving. It's a very loving presentation because it works on gradually, day by day, as in the workbook, bit by bit, idea by idea, practice period by practice period, reorienting ourselves so that we're ready to experience the truth of who we really are. And most of us, of course, in the world are not ready. We want to cling to every type of thing that we can. And it's very easy to look around us and see all of the laws that we've made. And we have indeed invented every single one of them. And we have gotten together and we've agreed that this is what we're going to be bound by. And this life, which is what we're living right now, is going to be bound by XYZ rules. And it's longer than that. There's a whole lot more than 3, aren't there? And there are rules that relate to how we talk to each other, conventions, what's considered polite. It's very different in some cultures, isn't it? If you've lived in other parts of the world, right? Things are, what's considered rude in one place is considered loving and beautiful somewhere else. And it can seem very abrupt and shocking. That's relative truth. That's the world where one person has a different perception than the other, totally different perception. And how do you practice this idea? What I recommend is that you just follow what the workbook says to do. That's a theme, by the way. And just repeat today, I am under no laws but God's. As often as you can, as often as you remember to do so, just repeat it. It can be out loud, can certainly be silently to yourself. That is every bit as effective as chanting or talking, saying it out loud. So whichever you are able to do, because we are in situations, aren't we? Like we're in a meeting or something and we're on a Zoom and we remember the day's idea. Well, it would be a little out of context maybe sometimes, especially if you're talking numbers or something in business. You're not just going to say, well, I'm under no laws but God's, but let's look at that balance sheet one more time. Right? You can say it inside though, as often as you can and must. That is the beauty of these ideas, is as you're discovering, they're all short. They're all short. Now, does this mean that you're going to remember it throughout the day? No, not necessarily. And you might not. And there have been days where I didn't either. And this is the 3rd time in my life that I've gone through the workbook. So, every day is different. What I recommend is just have a little grace for yourself. So when you remember the day's idea, that's the time to recite it. Quite simply, I'm under no laws but God's. All right. So one of the things that I love to do, of course, is hop on here and see who is joining me here on the network today. And we've got some people here watching. Thank you. And Kristen, hi, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. And guys, I want to invite you to leave any questions or comments that you may have. here in the comment thread. This is something that I do go back and I check during the day several times. So if you don't catch the live stream and you're watching this on the replay, then feel welcome to go back and take a look at this. So practice today's idea. Yeah, just practice it. I'm under no laws but God's. Repeat that to yourself as often as you can and must. And if you want further resources on A Course in Miracles, feel free to reach out. Leave that in the comments here. There are plenty of print and online resources that are available to you. And if you want to, you can always Google ACIM, which is short for A Course in Miracles, Workbook Lesson 76, and you'll get a lot of information, maybe more than you wanted. But if all you can do is just remember the idea once, just recite it once, because it's highly valuable. And the more we think about it, the more we practice it, the more we realize that, in fact, it's true. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I will be back here tomorrow, and we'll be continuing with the workbook Lesson 77, which I really love, and you'll love it too. So you'll want to catch that and catch this on the replay. If you missed yesterday's treatment of mind training and why we need it, it's a very good show to watch. And stay tuned on Saturday, because this is a daily live stream. So Saturday, May 1st, I've got a very special guest. So I just want to keep announcing that as I go forward this week. I'll have more details about her as we go along here in the week. But have a great rest of your day, guys. And thank you so much for joining me.